All right, so we want to pop back in here. So we're joined by WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay. Julie, you're following the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill today. What are some of your takeaways from this bill? Kind of break this down. You're really good at
Thank you.
There's a lot of moving parts.
It's called the Big Beautiful Bill for a reason. It's very long. I mean, we're talking trillions and trillions of dollars. So really the last couple of days, we've kind of been breaking down the different impacts in there. Some things that, aren't getting as much coverage just because it's not the biggest spending portion or the biggest talker. Of course, some of the bigger talkers today, we even had a small protest here in Charlotte over the SNAP cuts. So that's something we're looking at for sure. Supplemental nutrition assistance, that is going to be going through a huge overhaul if this bill passes. What would happen is the state would be required to pay a portion of it. Right now it's 100% federally funded. That's the whole point of it. At least 5% would come to the state, but I mean, we're talking billions, much money. 5% sounds small, but that's a big impact on a state like North Carolina, where our budget is typically around $30-something billion per year. So that would put a big strain on the system.
As we still are looking for a state budget in North Carolina.
Right. And so it'll be interesting to see when lawmakers go back at the General Assembly here in North Carolina if impacts of the Big Beautiful Bill, I'm sure they must be if this passes today, if that is something that they talk about in their budget. I don't know if that's part of the reason they held off. I think it's just a larger disagreement between across the aisle. I don't think this was premeditated, but that is definitely going to be something that impacts it. And we did have a small protest in Charlotte today over those SNAP cuts, as well as the Medicaid cuts, which is another big thing. Of course, that's probably the biggest talker. And then I know tomorrow, 4th of July, I'm anticipating across the country, but I think a few people in Charlotte too, not necessarily protesting, just organizing to talk about this. July 4th was the deadline that House and Senate Republicans said they wanted to get this bill to Trump's desk by. We're going to see. I mean, he's still going right now as we speak. So he's delaying an inevitable vote, but we're going to see if that eventually passes today.
And there's that deadline only imposed by President Trump. There's nothing in the rule books that say they have to get it passed. So I just wanted to point that out.
There's just the Republicans who wanted to get it to by a certain time.
And July 4th, significant for President Trump to celebrate that as a victory if they get it over the finish line on that within that deadline.
So symbolic in a sense as well.
Yeah, definitely. And also you're talking about private school vouchers. I know that's a big talker. We were talking about that before we got to you. Private school vouchers in the Carolinas. You have folks that are for it, folks against it, and folks on the fence that may not know anything about it, right?
Yeah, and so that's one of the things in this bill that is a little bit less talked about. Of course, Medicaid and SNAP cuts, that would impact a whole lot more people. But if you think about it, private school vouchers, which for those of you who don't have kids in public school, you can now in North Carolina, because we've expanded the program, any family is eligible to apply for this to help get some funding back to help pay for their private school education if you choose to pull your child out from public school into private school, or if they're already in private school and we're on a wait list. That's the reason we expanded it, is we had 50,000 kids on a wait list for this voucher system. They can be reimbursed. So we expanded that program at the state level, I believe, at the end of 2024. I mean, so much money. I think $500 million. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
That we expanded it on top of what we already had. That way they could get these kids off the wait list and raise the ceiling on who was able to apply for it. Now it's everybody. It's still on a sliding scale. Of course, only so much will go to certain families, but everyone is eligible to apply. That has been a huge talker because in theory it sounds great getting kids off the wait list, and that's what Republicans are a big fan of. Democrats and some education experts say, well, you're pulling public funding from public schools because in theory they'd be teaching less kids, but that's not necessarily the case if we are reimbursing some of these kids who were on the wait list already in private school, meaning they could already to some degree afford it, maybe not comfortably so, but that means that we are taking funds from public schools, putting them to private schools directly. The funds go straight to the private school without giving our teachers, our administrators, educators any less kids to take care of. And we know public schools in North Carolina are already kind of going through it. We do not have a high rate of teacher pay in comparison to other states, in comparison to South Carolina. So we have problems with teacher retention, things of that nature. That's something both sides of the aisle at the state legislature have wanted to work on, of course. But it's a disagreement on how that happens. Now, on top of that, the big, beautiful bill would add on oh gosh, how much is it? I'm going to pull up the number just so that I have this correct. $5 billion proposal to do what kind of North Carolina is doing in some other states at the federal level. Unclear yet how that would look. It wouldn't be so sweeping as every family is eligible. It would be, I believe, you had to be 300% of the median area income, which is still, quite a bit, but it's not, sweeping in that sense. So that's a part of the bill that's going to be interesting to watch. There are other states around that have tried to implement a similar program at the state level. South Carolina has had some issues because of language in their constitution. So I don't know what that would change for North Carolina in their program if this gets passed, if they will keep funneling so much money into it, or if they're just going to keep on going with how they're going and add this on top of it. So it'll be interesting to see another thing that they're going to discuss at the General Assembly, I'm sure, when they get back, assuming this bill passes.
A lot of questions, and that's why we have Julie on so frequently, because again, it's a lot of information. This is a massive bill. I believe as we speak, I'm gonna bring up the shot, and you can see it there on your screen, Julie.
There we go.
Things are wrapping up there. So he broke the record for longest, he being Representative Hakeem Jeffries, breaking the record for longest House floor speech there. It's been there since about 5 a.m. He's getting a round of applause from Democratic leaders. So, the inevitable is set to happen. We shall see in the coming minutes, hours, if they... if this passes. It looks like they have enough votes. So thank you, Julie, for your time.
Yeah, we'll keep watching this, that's for sure.
Let's tune in and see what's happening right now.